In the scorching heat of the desert, under the watchful eye of a mountain that seemed to touch the heavens, a man named Moses stood, trembling. He was no longer the young prince of Egypt, no longer the shepherd who had fled from his past. Now he was a leader, a prophet, a man who had spoken face to face with the divine. But even with all that he had seen and experienced, the request he had just made to God was one that would shake the very foundations of his faith. Moses had asked to see God's glory, not just a glimpse, not just a whisper, but a full-scale revelation. He wanted to understand, to see the face of the one who had called him from the burning bush, who had parted the Red Sea, who had guided his people through the wilderness. It was a bold request, one that few would dare to make. But Moses, driven by his deep love for his people and his unyielding desire to know God more fully, stepped forward and asked for what seemed impossible. God's response was both comforting and terrifying. He did not show Moses his face, for that was something no human could bear. Instead, he offered to show Moses his goodness, his moral attributes. God promised to pass by, and in that passing, Moses would see something of the divine. But there were conditions. God would shield Moses with his hand, and only after he had passed would Moses be allowed to see his back. It was a compromise, a way for the finite to glimpse the infinite. But it was enough. This moment on Mount Sinai is one of the most profound in the entire Bible. It is a testament to the complexity of the relationship between God and humanity. God is both immanent and transcendent, both present and distant. He is willing to reveal himself, but only to a certain extent. The idea that God's true nature is beyond human comprehension is a theme that runs throughout religious thought, from ancient times to the present day. Moses' request and God's response also highlight the deep human desire to know and understand the divine. This desire is universal, cutting across cultures and religions. It is a longing that has driven philosophers, theologians, and ordinary people to explore the nature of the divine, to seek answers to life's most profound questions. What is the purpose of life? What happens after we die? Why is there suffering in the world? These questions are as old as humanity itself, and they continue to shape our understanding of the world and our place in it. The story of Moses and the burning bush, of the Ten Commandments, and of the covenant on Mount Sinai is not just a religious narrative. It is a story about the human condition, about our search for meaning, and about the relationship between the finite and the infinite. It speaks to our deepest fears and hopes, to our struggles and triumphs, and to our unending quest for understanding. But it is also a story about the limits of human knowledge. Despite all of Moses' experiences, despite all the miracles he had seen, there was still a part of God that remained hidden. This is a humbling thought, one that reminds us of our place in the grand scheme of things. We may strive to understand, to know, to see, but there are limits to what we can grasp. And perhaps that is the point. The divine, in its truest form, is beyond our comprehension. It is something to be revered, to be approached with awe and reverence, but not something that can be fully known. In the end, The story of Moses on Mount Sinai is a call to humility. It is a reminder that while we can seek to understand, to know, and to see, there are limits to what we can achieve. It is a call to embrace the mystery, to accept that there are things in this world that are beyond our grasp, and to find peace in that acceptance. For in the end, it is not the answers we find that matter most, but the journey we take to seek them. And so, as we stand at the foot of our own mountains, facing our own challenges and uncertainties, let us remember the story of Moses. Let us remember that even in the face of the divine, there is room for humility, for awe, and for the simple act of faith. For in the end, that is all we truly need.